Welcome to Mythbusters Tithing Edition, where we work to uncover the myths that are keeping you from experiencing the blessings of tithing. This week on Mythbusters, it's time to go old school versus new school. So the word tithing is mentioned in the Old Testament 29 times, but is only mentioned 3 times in the New Testament. How could tithing 10% of our income still be relevant in 2016? I mean, we don't even bring animals to the altar anymore, and the crops that we grow, we don't bring it back to the priest. So is tithing a part of the Old Testament ways of living, and is it still important?
Whenever it comes to this issue of tithing, when we struggle with taking the next step in our walk with God and trusting Him with our finances, inevitably the enemy shows up with the same temptation. Is tithing really a New Testament issue? I've been a pastor going on 10 years, and I've heard this more than one time. The reality is, yes, tithing is very much a New Testament issue. In the Gospel of Luke chapter 11 and verse 42, Jesus is talking to the Pharisees, and the Pharisees were really careful to tithe, but they didn't know how to treat people. They didn't know how to love people. And Jesus rebuked them. And in Jesus' rebuke, He said, you're really careful to tithe, even the tiniest amount of your income, but you forget the weightier matters, like justice. And Jesus said, you should tithe, but don't forget the other stuff. Jesus made it very clear in Luke chapter 11 that tithing is very much part of God's will for our lives. Inevitably, the next question I'll always get is, but that's one time that Jesus mentioned tithing. To which I reply, how many times does God have to say something before it's true? I think it's just one time. All throughout the Scriptures, God emphasizes this principle of tithing. It starts as early as the book of Genesis. Tithing is a gift for us. Now, the reality is that if we choke the Word of God hard enough, we can pretty much make it say or not say whatever we want to. The question I have for you is, are you willing to take the next step in your journey with God? Are you willing to try this thing called tithing? We're here to bust the myth that tithing is an old idea, that it doesn't carry any relevance or weight today. I promise you, ask anybody that does it. It's very relevant. It's life-changing. It's transformational. You don't have to take the pastor's word for it. Ask any tither. They'll tell you. When they began tithing, their life began changing. Try it and see if God doesn't open up the windows of heaven and bless you.